Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to MCU Movie Review. Yes, sir. I love it so much.
Actual movie review.
I know, man. Today we are excited to be reviewing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth installment in this. I guess you would call it the reboot franchise of the last 10, 15 years. It was known as the Caesar franchise, and honestly, I would still call it that because Caesar has played a big part in this movie, even though he wasn't actually in it. But
all the intro scene,
I know, so good. Just to preface, before we're already getting into it, this movie came out over a month ago now, so there will be spoilers in this movie. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to see it, then go watch it. Then come back and watch this review. Yeah, that's all I got. Now, we'll talk first about some of our expectations. I will say that I love this franchise. Okay, I absolutely love the Caesar trilogy of the 2010s. I actually got into it because of my dad, actually.
You kind of grew up on it.
Yeah, man. Like, I've been watching these movies. I don't think I saw Rise and War in theaters. I don't think I saw Dawn in theaters for some reason. But so I saw Rise when I was 9, right? Yeah. I'm 21 now, so it's like, I've grown up. I know. So, I love this franchise. My dad, like I said, he's a huge fan of these movies. He liked the original ones, the old ones, and I've never seen any of those. But he liked those, didn't love them. Now, since he's watched these, he refuses to even watch the old ones anymore because he's like, these are just, they're untouchable. They're so much better. And so he kind of got me on them, and we just loved them as a family. It's kind of everything. Me and my sister and my dad specifically love these movies. We kind of like it. He said we feel like we've kind of grown up with them, grown up with Caesar. So I love these movies. Therefore, I was very excited about this movie. However, there definitely was some hesitancy when you figure out, when it comes out what they're doing with it. 400 years after the War of the Planet of the Apes.
That's great.
If you've watched War, spoiler alert, Caesar passes away at the end of the Caesar trilogy, so you know Caesar's not going to be in this one. And this movie does not pick up with Cornelius, his son, which kind of was the assumption if they were going to do more movies, was it was just going to kind of pick up and keep going. It's not what it does. Like I said, it has this big time jump. And it's a new director, Wes Ball. Christopher Reeves directed the second Dawn and War, and those were both phenomenal films. So there was a few different reasons to be hesitant, but I will say I was far more excited than I was hesitant. I was just kind of excited to be back in this world again because I love it so much. How did you feel going in?
Well, see, that's the perspective of someone who kind of grew up on the first trilogy.
Yeah.
And within the last year, have watched the first the trilogy. I'd never seen any of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I say the last year has really been the last like 8 months, give or take. I mean, not even a year that I've watched the first three for the first time with my fiance, and I loved them. I thought they were great, and especially being a fan of sci-fi. Yeah, you know, I thought this and like. Not dystopian. I mean, I would. It's not it's apocalyptic for humans. Yeah. Like, you know, in a weird way, it is apocalyptic for humans because there was a virus. There's a simian flu. Oh yeah. And so it's like I've obviously love all of that kind of genre, and it was only amplified in this. Yeah.
Freaking dog. Dude.
This dog. Oh my god. Sorry, I lost what I was saying halfway through. Just forget her. Yeah. And then my mom yelling at her. Yeah. But no, anyway, so going in, I was pretty much like, I really wasn't hesitant at all. Yeah. But also, I feel like I didn't have as much room for hesitancy because I didn't have a long wait. Yeah. Like, I didn't have a long wait, and I don't know if I quite have the love for it that you do. Mm-hmm. I do love it, but I didn't grow up on it. Yeah. And so it's like, I didn't have the hesitancy I would have going into a Marvel movie.
Yes, exactly, because you're just not as invested in the franchise.
I haven't been invested as long.
Yes,
so exactly. I would say I wasn't hesitant at all, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And I wasn't let down.
Yeah, man. It is a great movie. I mean, it's just this franchise continues to be one of in my opinion, the most just consistent franchises.
It has a legacy to uphold in a weird way.
Yeah, man. And it does not miss a beat as far from the other movies. Start off by saying just the obvious thing that I'm sure everyone has said in a review of this movie. It's beautiful. Okay. Not only is the settings the setting is beautiful, but the VFX is just like the best like ever. You know what I mean? And seriously,
yeah,
it's like there is not a frame of this movie that
Yeah.
doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
That you feel like, oh, that wasn't believable. It's like, bro, no, you buy all of it. You feel so immersed in this world. And that was actually one of my favorite things about this movie that I wanted to point out at the very beginning was I love this kind of adventure film. It's very different than the others, whereas the others, and War is an exception for about a third of the movie, but the others are not, you don't get to explore a ton. Why? Yeah. Rise is pretty limited, and Dawn is literally, like, there's only two, it's the Apes Kingdom and the QZ, like, that's it, like, it's pretty much the only two settings, and then, you know, the dam or whatever. So, but they're kind of very small scale as far as the setting. This movie is the first one that felt to me like we got to really explore this world.
Yes, and I feel like it had to. If this is the base for the new trilogy, it has to give us what we didn't get. Mm-hmm. It has to give us something we didn't get in the first, which, and like you said, a part of the War was. Yeah. But, like, for the majority, it had to give us something we didn't have in the first trilogy. Yeah. And I think that's really, I mean, although the first trilogy is amazing, there's always more. Oh, yeah. And there is always more to an extent.
And I think War definitely expanded this world, right? You have this trek that Caesar and Maurice and Rocket and all them go on.
He was just on Retribution.
But this movie just expanded it even more, right? Yeah. Which is so exciting because once you get people invested not only in a character, because the reason, let's be honest, if you love the Planet of the Apes trilogy in the 2010s, the reason you loved it was because you loved Caesar. Okay, that's why. That's why we watched. This franchise, they are trying, it's so clear from this first movie, they're trying to get fans invested in this world and in what they're building and what's going on, which I just love. Yeah. I love that.
What the frick was in the telescope?
Oh, yeah, bro. The cliffhangers are crazy. I don't know what they're setting up, but that's exciting. For
what did Noah see and what did May see? Yeah. Because they were both looking up at the same thing.
Yeah, I know. It's very, very exciting to think where this is going. To talk about Noah, I love Noah. I thought Noah was a great lead. I hate that Noah is just inevitably going to constantly be compared to Caesar. Yeah. There's just no way to avoid that because it is the same franchise. It's just a new lead, and I really don't think there's much of I'm not even gonna compare him to Caesar. I'm not gonna do that game right now. What I will say is Noah was different from Caesar in ways that I liked. Yes. He came across as very like he was a kid. I mean, he really is. And so this adventure, he's an explorer. You see that in the first movie where he loves to explore. He loves to take risks when him and his friends are trying to get the eggs, and they're having fun, and he almost kills himself. He doesn't even care. He's just having fun. Like, he's obviously a risk taker. He loves to explore. He loves to adventure.
He's kind of reckless.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And so we see him, that recklessness, come to bite him when the reason his home got invaded was because of him, right? Because they followed him back to his home. So, but I really liked his kind of innocence, and how he is realizing the same time we are how big this world is. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. And back to what you were saying about, him being kind of overshadowed by Caesar and not comparing them. They knew that. Oh yeah. They knew that. And you could tell by the effort they put into May. Mm-hmm. Because, they didn't just put all they had into, not reviving, but kind of revamping a Caesar. Yeah. They didn't really even try to do that. Yeah. They were very kind of humble in just telling his story, and just so happens that his story is completely intertwined with May. Yeah. And I think that was a smart choice.
Yeah, for sure.
That was really good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah, this world is so cool. I loved seeing the different tribes or clans of apes. That's such a cool concept. Which I'll say this: one of the most impressive feats of this film, in my opinion, was its ability, and I alluded to this at the beginning. This movie's ability to keep Caesar central to the franchise 400 years later. It felt like he was still the main character.
And it makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. It was really cool to explore these kind of religious things, because in this world, Caesar is like
a
Jesus.
Messiah. It was a Messiah,
like seriously, and I say that I say that not to be blasphemous, but like in this
within
world,
this universe,
he literally you see these different people. That Caesar's teachings, Caesar's beliefs, and the way Caesar led and the way Caesar did things has been passed down generation to generation.
And instead of a cross, it's the window.
Yeah,
like
and you see how the exact same way that it happens in any religious context, you see Caesar's teachings get diluted.
And scrambled.
And you see them get scrambled, and you see them get misconstrued by people, and people essentially weaponize, and we see this, the bad guy, Proximus Caesar, and his clan has weaponized Caesar's teachings, in a sense, and they fully believe that they are doing what Caesar would want them to do, which is wipe out all humanity, right? Because the apes are going to rule. And, we know, and this is one of my favorite things about the movie, too, it's so rare in a film. I realized at some point in this movie how cool of a concept it is that the characters in this movie know certain things that we don't know.
Yeah. And
we know things that they don't know because we've seen Caesar's life and Caesar and they haven't. So we're sitting there screaming at the TV like, bro, that's not what Caesar would have wanted. He would never want that. But they don't know that. None of them do.
But what's interesting about that is by the end of the movie, Noah, obviously, up until Raqqa, had no idea about anything Caesar.
Yeah.
But taking in, he is very, although he's a kid, and we talked about his recklessness, he is very open.
Yeah.
And he takes the words of Caesar, and he kind of uses them in the way that Caesar meant it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's he just was being open. He could even tell. There was something about it. He was like, I don't think this is what that guy meant.
Yeah.
I don't think this is what Caesar meant.
Yeah.
This, it had to have been this.
Yeah.
And he kind of took it as it was intended. And which is just so cool because it's like you said. None of them knew.
Yeah.
It was just his a conjecture that he just felt like that was right, and it was
actually. Yeah. Man, it's so cool. So many cool ideas and concepts explored in this movie. Another concept that I really liked was this. It's almost like this alternate universe where apes are human. They're the apex predator, and we're the animals. I thought those were they're just things you don't really think about, don't really realize. But the little things where when Noah is told by Raqqa for the first time, about he's talking about animal, or he's talking about how humans used to fly through the sky, things like that back in Caesar's day, and he's like, humans? Because in their world now, because of the simian flu and the downfall, the humans are the lowest of the low. Yeah. They're just animals. They're
no different than the zebras.
Yeah. And so he's like, what? And then you see when they get into the vault.
Nova. They're all named Nova. We don't know why. They're just not, they're all named Nova.
When they get into the vault in the final act of the movie and Noah and his friends see these children's books. Yeah. And they see these pictures of apes in a cage. And they're like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense to them. Yeah. But it's so funny because that is our world. That's all that makes sense to us. Yeah. And so it's like, oh wow, I guess it makes sense because 400 years later, I just didn't even think about the fact that these apes don't even know what it's like to be an animal. They are humans. They rule the world now. They're in charge, and we're the animals. Yeah. And so it's just such a cool twist, such a cool idea to explore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very good. By the way, Rocket's still alive. There's no way.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
I think he is.
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me or anyone probably.
I called it the night we watched it. Yeah. At the end of the movie, there's not a post credits there wasn't a post credits.
I don't think so.
It was just like a gurgle. Do you remember it? It just made that, and it sounded like what kind of monkey is that?
Is he an orangutan?
Orangutan. Yeah. Because that's what Maurice was.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounded like an orangutan. Oh, by the way, talking about sound, the voice acting in this movie.
Oh man.
Is phenomenal.
So good.
And it was Andy Serkis in the first three was phenomenal.
He was great.
But
the dude, I can't remember his name, but the dude who voiced Proximus Caesar killed.
Durant.
Yeah. That's
his last name. It's not Kevin, is it?
No, it's a basketball player now.
Yeah, Kevin.
I can't remember. You can think of it, see if you can remember it. But But we'll transition into this.
Yeah.
Proximus Caesar was goated. Okay. I loved Proximus Caesar as a villain, and this franchise continues to hit the mark when it comes to their antagonists and their villains.
Yeah.
Like, they have some of my favorite villains in the last 10, 15 years, and we're actually going to make a completely separate video just discussing some of the villains, some of our favorite villains, and why. But I thought Proximus Caesar, what's so cool about Proximus is that once again, they do these twists that are so perfect because I said earlier, Noah is distinctly different from Caesar in all the right ways.
Yeah.
I felt like Proximus was distinctly different from Koba in all the right ways.
Yes.
Right?
He wasn't as rough around the edges.
Yes, like Koba, the thing about Koba that made Koba so compelling is he oozed hatred.
For
he
humor,
was always mad. And you knew why. Like, and you
saw
understood
the first
why.
movie why.
But, like, he just came, even the way he looked, the way they made his face look, like, it was just, like, you could tell he was angry. Proximus always has a smile on his face.
Yeah, what a wonderful day.
Like, he has this really, and it's funny because Proximus Caesar almost sounds like the name of, like, a Roman emperor from back in the day. He gave me the vibe of, like, an evil Roman emperor who will just, like, mercilessly kill people with a smile on his face. Yeah. Like, that kind of vibe where he's just always laughing and smiling, and then just one minute he snaps. And that's scarier to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's scarier. And so, what a wonderful day, and he's kind of a performer. He's a larger than life figure because he has to be to have these people follow him.
And he gives them something to follow.
Yes. And he instills in them, like I said, this sense of it's our time.
Yeah.
We're taking over. We're ruling the world. We're taking the human technology. We're going to make it our own. We're going to wipe off. This is our time. And guess what? This is what Caesar would have wanted. You know what I mean? And like this manipulation tactic. And like I said, it's never really clear whether he is intentionally lying about what he knows what Caesar wanted. He's intentionally manipulating, or whether maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's been told by someone because it's 400 years.
Makes him less of a villain.
Yeah,
if that's the case.
Yes, absolutely.
Like it makes him. He's still a villain. It makes his intent less villainous.
Yeah. He's also, like, physically imposing. He's big.
Yeah, he's a big...
Like, he looks like a regular ape.
Yeah.
But he's just huge. Like, the way they portray him, I just thought I loved him as a character and as a villain. I'll save it for the negatives, since I do have a couple things to say about him and what they did surrounding him.
Yeah. I wish we could... Obviously, we saw it. So obviously there's the ship that most of them like the higher ups stay in, it feels like. But then up above, like on the mountain area, there's a bunch of huts. I wish we could have seen more how many people there are how many apes actually stayed there.
Yeah.
Like how big the colony actually was.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
Mm-hmm. It would have
I mean, we saw a majority of them down there on the shoreline.
Yeah.
But I say majority, we don't know if that's majority or not. There's a lot of them, but there's a lot of huts up there.
Oh yeah.
That's just a small thing that would have been really cool to see, and that's something else they can expand on. Like maybe in the next movie, obviously we went back and we saw that what was it called? It wasn't called the Eagle Clan, was it?
Something like that.
Something along that.
Yeah, something with Eagle.
We saw that they rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see what kind of happened to the remains of Proximus's clan. Yeah. Are they just kind of a democracy now, or do they have a council board like that? That's something that could be explored.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But that's just something small.
Yeah.
That's not a negative either. That was just something I guess that's a thing that I'm interested to see in other movies. Yeah,
that'd be really cool. Yeah, I would say to transition into some of the negatives or some of the things that I was kind of mixed on about Proximus Caesar. One of the things I wasn't a fan of the way that they ended him.
Really?
Yeah. Now I understand what they're trying to do. I understand the whole point is obviously Noah can't take Proximus Caesar on his own. Yeah. So it's this idea that but together we're a clan, we're a group, and together we can defeat the foe or whatever. Okay. I mean, it felt a little, I guess a little. I mean, it's a generic trope, which is fine.
Yeah. The idea what part is generic? Like we just sticking together?
Hero can't defeat villain on his own, but together we can do anything. That idea, that it's not. There's nothing unique about that lesson or that moral, the moral of the story, right? Doesn't make it bad. It just didn't hit for me when we just saw it. I know it's circumstantial, but there are ways to portray a quote unquote a physically weaker character defeating a physically. We just saw Noah kill Silva.
Yeah.
Right? Who's the physically strongest character in this movie, probably a gorilla. You know what I mean? And obviously he didn't kill him. Silva drowned, but he outsmarted him. That's what I'm saying. So there are ways you can portray.
But I feel like using the birds is outsmarting though.
Yeah, it is in a sense.
Yeah.
But it didn't land for me.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason why is because I knew going into this movie, I'd heard rumblings that this could potentially be the first movie in a new trilogy that they want to do.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was introduced to Proximus Caesar, and I just fell in love with this guy. Not meaning I love him, but I love his character. His character's so well done. What I would have loved to see this franchise do was for him to be the villain of this trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think that is really, this franchise does such a good job with their antagonists, as we've said, so I'm not worried that they're going to be bad from now on.
Yeah. But
I loved him so much. He was so compelling, and I felt like, how awesome would it be if, like, this is the guy that we're trying to bring down for the next, in real time, for the next decade. Yeah. You know what I mean? If they space out these movies like they did, the Caesar trilogy was 3 years apart each movie, so if we're like, for the next 6 years, we're like, we gotta defeat Proximus, like, that would be, I would have loved that. I would have loved to have this kind of central enemy where, you know, we're all united against this guy. And I just wanted to see more of him.
Yeah, and I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I think I not necessarily thought similar, but I think whenever he died, I was like, oh frick, they introduced him and one they did his whole arc in one movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of like I thought.
Well, to be fair, half a movie.
Yeah.
He's not introduced till half within the movie. You know, it's
I
just
so within.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's even less.
Yeah.
Like, it's so little time with a character that I just thought was a really, really, really compelling villain.
I mean, same with the Colonel, though, in War.
Yeah.
He's only in there for half.
Yeah, but I felt a lot stronger about Proximus.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know.
And I like the Colonel, but...
Yeah. But, and I think I was like, that was kind of quick, but with the end of the movie showing the compound of the humans that are there, the compound of the humans made me completely forget about Proximus.
Okay. Because
it's back to the ultimate war, or the ultimate struggle, humans and apes.
Uh-huh.
And I'm more than fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, like, even though that was the first 3 movies, give or take. I mean, obviously Koba in the second movie was, and you know what I mean. But I mean the QZ in the second one, like that constant struggle is humans and like Proximus. The whole thing with Proximus, it kind of made us realize, oh well, maybe humans aren't threats anymore. But then it kind of introduced it back in, and I like that. Yeah, if you can see where I'm coming.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so like I'm fine with Proximus' story being done, if it means I get to see more of the human stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for you would have rather seen the Proximus stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would say a couple other things that I'll point out that I would say I put in the negative category. And it's not fair to compare this movie, every aspect of this movie, to the original trilogy. This movie didn't hit the same emotional beats as either of the first 3 movies. I didn't feel like and it's just like I said, it's new characters, it's a new story, so I understand you're not as invested, but you know, it's not as sad when Noah's dad is killed as like I felt like they wanted it to be. Yeah. Like I didn't feel like heartbroken, you know what I mean? It is sad, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's just that's one of the most impressive things about that original trilogy to me, is that you were so emotionally invested in these freaking apes.
Well, yeah, and even in the first movie, it's more emotional when Charles is losing his mind.
Yeah.
Than when Noah's dad dies.
Yes, exactly.
And so, maybe that's because in the first movie he is a human.
Yeah.
And we can relate to the pure sadness and just awfulness of dementia and Alzheimer's and all that. Like, obviously, but I think we related to that, and that may be why. And like you said, it's like I don't really want to compare this movie to, but I mean, if this is a new trilogy, I think it's kind of fair to compare this to the first movie.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Because if we're comparing this to War, obviously there's so much that built on.
Yes.
But I'm comparing this, the first viewing of this trilogy, to my first viewing of the other trilogy. I think that's fair.
Yeah, for sure.
And I felt more when Charles got sick versus when, I don't even remember his dad's name.
I don't either, but
whenever he died.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. I just felt like emotionally it didn't hit the same chords as the original trilogy. And I think they can get there, but that was just one thing I didn't feel like this movie did as well as it could have.
But it didn't have the adventure part.
Of course, yeah, there's give and take.
I will say, I did, like, thinking Rock, I never, I didn't think Rocka died when he washed away in the water.
Yeah.
But then it laid heavy that he did, and that made me sad.
Yeah.
But I still don't, I mean, obviously is not a joke, but it's like, I want him to be alive, and so I think he's alive.
Yeah.
But if he is dead, then that is sad.
Yeah, for sure.
And that will also have an impact. So that could prove to be more emotional in the second or third movie.
Yeah.
If we find out that he did actually die.
For sure.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think it was a give and take thing because of the adventure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now let's close by just talking a little bit about Noah and May's dynamic and relationship, because there were a couple things that I wasn't a huge fan of here. One of which was, I don't buy that Noah would have sided with a human. I don't buy it. Like, it's not as believable to me, because, like, I understand Noah hears Caesar's teachings from Rocca, and he decides that's truth. And once again, it's these religious themes of he's a believer, he's a follower of Caesar now, and so he's going to do what Caesar would have wanted to do, which is help the humans. The reason the first trilogy as a whole, and especially the first movie, is so compelling is you understand why Caesar has a soft spot for humans. You get it. And you also understand why most of the other apes don't get it. They don't get it. They don't know why Caesar feels this love, this weird love and weird connection with humans. They're like, bro, like, screw the humans. Look what they've done to us. Like, we're taking them down.
Yeah.
And Caesar's like, no, we're not doing that. And we all know why. It makes sense. It's very believable, very fleshed out. With Noah, it just, I didn't buy it as much. Obviously, I understood why they did it for the purposes of the movie and the story they were trying to tell, but it wasn't as believable to me that Noah would have just, like, May would have been like, Proximus is trying to kill all the humans.
Yeah.
You got to help me. And Noah would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think, like you said, we understand why Caesar felt that way. But for Noah, I think Noah might be doing it out of respect for Rocca. Because he saw how compassionate Rocca was towards May. Like, Rocca was willing to stay with May, and then, what was that, the actual ape's name? The big one that I'm blanking right now. You just said his name, that Noah killed, outsmarted, drowned. Silva. I thought, okay, Silva. When Silva and his people came, and then Noah turned around and came back. But, like, Rocca was staying with May.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think out of respect of Rocca is why he's decided to, that's what I thought. And that's what justified it for me. And that's what made me not question as much.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
But also,
that's a fair
Proximus trusted the old guy.
The Trevathan?
Yeah.
Well, trusted as, he was like, he enslaved him. I wouldn't say trusted him. I mean,
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like he tolerated him being in that close proximity.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't think the apes don't have that pure disdain towards humans as they used to.
Well, dude, Proximus Caesar is literally trying to wipe humans off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And like his whole thing, he's using Trevathan so that he can read.
I'm just talking about the average ape 400 years later doesn't quite have the same disdain.
I think the average ape 400 years ago is the same as the average ape in the original trilogy. I don't think that the average ape in 400 years later is Koba, right? But I think the average ape is Rocket, or is, or is Blue Eyes, Caesar's son, who's like Dad, like, I just don't understand why you're doing everything you can to protect humans. Like, what have they ever done for us? Like, I think that's probably the general consensus. Where I don't think the average ape, I agree, I don't think the average ape wants to wipe humans off the planet.
Yeah.
But I don't think the average ape, like, wants to go out of their way and risk their lives to protect humans either.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So, that was just a couple thoughts I had about that. And then May, as a character, I had very mixed feelings about her. She kind of ebbed and flowed a lot for me throughout the movie, how I felt about her. I loved the way that they ended the movie with Noah and her, where it's obvious that they don't really trust each other anymore. Noah doesn't trust her.
Yeah.
And Noah even says, like, I don't think we need to, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be able
and
to
she
do
obviously
it.
didn't trust because she had the gun behind her back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That scared me.
I know.
I feel like we would have walked away with a different feeling if she didn't have the gun behind her back.
Yeah. Like, it's obvious.
They made it a point to show us that,
Yeah.
which is like, unsettling a little bit.
I know, man.
But it's smart to do if they want us to be intrigued for the next movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So May was, I think she was because I had said all the time going into this movie, and I was wrong. Yeah. I had said going into this movie, the only way I'm going to love this movie and this movie's going to work is if there is an extremely compelling human character. And I loved this movie, and there wasn't an extremely compelling human character that I loved. Like, May isn't a character that I just love. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know how I feel about her. That's what I'm saying. You see these parts of her where you're like, oh, when she killed Trevathan, you're like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my wow. I didn't know she was going to do that. Like, you know, like, but,
yeah.
You know, and like you said, the end of the movie where she has this distrust for Noah when Noah literally, you know, like, saved her life, kind of made me angry. Like, what the frick?
Yeah.
Why do you trust him? Like,
but I get it. In a world full of apes.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if she had it because she didn't trust him. She may have just had it for protection.
Yeah.
That's the only protection you can have against an ape.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that would make sense.
So I would just say, I would put her character, if there was a mixed category, I would say just put May. And that, like, I was just very mixed on her character. I'm excited to see where they go with her. We have a lot of questions about her as to, like, what is it about her that makes her immune to the flu?
Yeah.
You know, all these things. So there's a lot of questions, which is a great thing for a franchise like this. So overall, I always feel weird with ending with negatives because I feel like we've been talking bad. I've been talking about this movie for the last 10 minutes.
That's why we'll do ratings next.
I love this movie. What would you rate it?
I'd give it a 8.5.
I also gave it an 8.5.
Really?
I gave it an 8.5.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I love it. It's a great movie. And I'll tell you right now, just to put into perspective how much I love this franchise, we are going to be recording shortly after this and uploading soon a ranking of the Planet of the Apes movies from Rise to now, not the old ones. If you'd like us to watch the old ones and rank them, then let us know down below. Maybe we will one day. But we're going to be ranking the 4 newest ones, and you'll kind of get a perspective into how much I and we love this franchise and these movies. They're great movies. It's just such a cool like, when you hear a movie about apes take over the world, you think like Sharknado. You know what I mean? You think like it'll be fun, but it'll be stupid. But it's like these movies take themselves so seriously.
They do.
They're so dramatic. They hit all of the right emotional chords. They continue to build this world. They continue to give us compelling protagonists and antagonists that we can sympathize with, understand, and see their point of views. It's just such a multi-layered and such a great franchise.
And this movie was it carried the linear story more than I expected it to. It did the same thing that War did. I can't remember if Dawn did it. Did Dawn have the Star Wars-esque title cards?
Beginning? Yes, it did.
And I was surprised that this one did it.
I know, yeah.
That's really cool.
It's so cool. And I will say this, because I have been asked this by a couple people, and let me answer this and then we'll close, okay? I've been asked, can I watch this movie without watching the Caesar trilogy first? The answer is yes, but I would not recommend it.
No,
That's the answer. The answer is yes, you can. I actually believe you fully can, especially with the card that kind of gets you caught up to date on the history of this world. Like you said, you get to see Caesar's death in the opening scene. So you have a general idea of what's going on. You want to appreciate the movie or like it as much as we did if you don't watch the Caesar trilogy before. You can. I would not recommend it. I don't think anyone would who's fans of this franchise.
No,
just watch the Caesar trilogy, you freaking idiots. Like, it's great.
And see, you said yes. I would lean more towards the not really.
Okay.
Me just had the way I am, but I'm big on consistency and storyline, and that's like that's just my personal.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, I agree with what you said. You can, but there's no why.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
The only reason is if all your friends are going to watch it and you have nothing to do. It's like, yeah, sure, I can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah.
And that's our thoughts. That's our review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and that's our rating. You want to close it out?
Yeah, guys. So I mean, we're gonna be coming up with like the ranking, and we are gonna be doing actually an episode where we already talked about the villain episode, and we're actually gonna be doing our top 10 at the least favorite characters throughout all four movies.
Yeah.
And so if y'all like this video, then go watch those as we release them. You know,
I'm excited about it.
I don't know when they'll be out, but they'll be out.
They'll be out.
They'll be out at some point. But yeah, guys, if you like this video, please let us know what you think down in the comments. Like, subscribe, post notification bell, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And yeah, guys, peace out.
Deuce.